And we are back, as always. You know how it goes. It's the NLM podcast. And I am Jake Mendel, and I am joined by Topher Cochran. And I just stuttered there because, Topher, I have a bone to pick with you because you know what? Reading your timeline on game day is throw it all in the garbage can. You talk so much nonsense. It sounds outrageous. You make some good points, yes. But some of the tweets, I just gotta be like, bruh. You're killing any hope I have for the Dolphins to come back and win this game. But here's your chance. Defend your Twitter timeline, and more importantly, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. Halloween's around the corner, so get ready for the junk food. And they play Thursday, so it's gonna be weird how we handle Sunday. Mm-hmm. It kind of gives us a glimpse of life without Dolphin football, but that might be better. So it might be a glimpse of the playoffs because we're not. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
Are you allowed to say the P word? Are we allowed to? We're in the hunt, Topher.
Yeah.
It's not over.
Yeah, it's like we're in the sunken place of in the hunt. Like, we're never going to get out of it. It's quicksand. It's going to be a slow death. But as far as my timeline, it's kind of like how I feel by play.
It is.
It's really like, oh, God, here's the play. And, yes, I am fully aware that they might come back. And I honestly hope they do. I thought they had the chance until Xavier Howard committed the weirdest, smallest pass interference play that I can remember. You could make the argument that he committed it, but at the same time, just give us the home field, give us the home cooking. Like, if I'm a ref, I'm giving home cooking every time. It's gonna be my stat. Like, whenever they're gambling on me and I'm reffing that game, referee, this guy gives home cooking.
Yeah, just a little note, Topher Cochran, known for home cooking.
Yeah, exactly. But it just started right out of the gate with Kerryon Johnson running all over the defense, and it felt like it didn't stop. Right. I don't remember that. I don't know when they punted. I can't remember a sack. I think the biggest hit on Stafford was the one where the ball flew 10 yards behind him out of bounds. Mm-hmm. You're right. But it was just the game of where all of your issues and everything that you had with the team finally showed
on defense.
And it came crashing so fast. And all it took was just the running game to get the run defense to get completely washed up. And after a while, man, you just kind of got it. We're they got no hope.
There was a point because there was a couple penalties early in drives where I'm like, cool, that's going to kill the momentum. And it'd be 2nd and 19,
the first drive.
And the first play after the penalty on 2nd and 19, 20-yard reception. No problem. Wide open down the sideline.
Some scrub tight ends.
Oh, my God.
Tight end that I've never heard of.
It's freaking insane. Why can't we do that? The only time there's so many times I'm asking, when's the next Frank Gore, catch it at his shoestrings and run for 19 yards on 3rd down. And I'm asking it way too much with this team, and it's brutal.
I mean, that's kind of what, how my experience watching the NFL is when can we get that?
Exactly.
Because it's it's weird. I think they're fine at quarterback. Obviously, yes, you would upgrade, but considering the situation, I actually have no complaints.
No, me either.
If they said, all right, we're going to run with Brock Osweiler for the rest of the year, I'd be like, whatever. It can't get any worse, and it's not going to get better. Because but it's just, I think what got me and you kind of went after me about it was just the amount of injuries that were compiling with 4 minutes left in the first half.
Yep.
And it felt like it never ended. And it reminded me, when you play Madden and you go hurry up offense for 6 straight plays, and then you go back to the huddle and you have your special they had Sonoris Perry in running back at one point because they were so depleted. And that's when I was this is totally gone to the crapper. But yeah, man, it was so frustrating watching that game, and I couldn't even get mad. I couldn't get violently mad.
Yeah, just sit on the injuries for a second. I do want to talk about that, the point of not being mad. But Albert Wilson left with an injury.
Heartbreaker.
It is. It's because he's it's like Lion King when you're just kind of pushing him no, get up, and it's just not happening. So
yes.
You know what? No. Too bad Kenny Stills didn't come and give him the ball. I think he would have gotten up afterwards. But
that's another thing that happened.
Albert Wilson needs 8 to 10 weeks. He does not need surgery. That is probably... There's two ways you can look at it. You can look at it the Topher way. Cool, he'll be back for the offseason program. Or you can look at my way, which makes no sense, but I want to enjoy at least the remaining 60% of the season. He'll be back for the playoffs.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. See, I was actually going to go, well, you know what? He might lose explosiveness. This is why you don't sign those explosive guys on their second contract, because if they get hurt, their body won't be the same. Did that come out?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And
I think he's fun to watch, man, bro. It was so fun watching him. And I hope he recovers, and I think he will. Like, I think it'll be overall fine. But
I don't think,
dude, it was so fun, man. Considering that he's cooler than Jarvis Landry.
Yep.
Man, what's it with this team? And the replacements are always worse than the guy we wanted to get rid of in terms of like outcome.
Right.
Whether it's short term or long term. Like, we had the short term outcome with originally going back to like running back, they got rid of Reggie Bush. Lamar Miller was okay. Then you get rid of Lamar Miller, and it's like, what are they doing here? And then they have a Jai.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go Mike Wallace to Devontae Parker. That turns into a crap show. And you got Jarvis Landry. You're happy to get rid of him because you didn't want to pay him. And then your replacement gets hurt.
Yeah, I kind of see Amendola as more the Jarvis. So they're using Amendola more, and it was confusing to me why it took them so long to start doing that. But to kind of jump back to your point where you said it didn't hurt, I wasn't stressed watching this game. I kind of was just annoyed because, as weird as this is going to sound, I enjoy watching Brock Osweiler just shouting.
He's not bad.
But before each play, and when we think about his 2 interceptions this season, I still want to argue that Devontae played a huge role in one. And the other one was he hasn't played in so long, he didn't know his arm strength. Of course he can't throw it out. We're not saying he's going to be great, but you kind of mentioned, and we'll tease, we have Rob Proffitt later on the show, as this is our Megapod. You might have been looking for our show this morning. Tuesday morning, and it wasn't there because they play Thursday. So we thought we'll throw it all into one Megapod. But before we get to Detroit, we're going to talk about the Texans. Flip that. Before we talk about the Texans, we're going to talk about Detroit. And Brock was just fun to watch. You know, we saw Kenyon Drake make a play. I didn't think Brock's deep balls were too terrible. There was one where Kenny Stills just kind of fell over like a rag doll, and then that was because he hurt his groin on the play. There was one barely out of the reach of Drake. He might have actually dropped it if you go by the Tom Brady sabermetric of if this is the wide receiver or the quarterback's fault. This is the wide receiver's fault. But overall, the game, I just wanted to see the offense more because we saw a big run by Kenyon Drake. We saw a great catch by Danny Amendola, and once that offense found a rhythm, they were kind of enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, when they get the rhythm, it's fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's just getting to the rhythm. That's what's frustrating is because you don't know what you're getting out of them, and then you don't know when you're going to get it.
Right.
And that's what's aggravating is because, like, we saw the Kenyon Drake run. You're like, the minute he got free, you're like, that's a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just knew the way he broke off that run, and the minute Nick O'Leary got that block, you're like, touchdown.
No
at
glove
worst,
Nick.
No glove Nick. At worst, he's out of bounds at like the 3-yard line, and they score.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just there's a lot of things that are just like frustrating to watch. But they're still 4-3, so like they could win this game against Houston. I think it's possible. Mm-hmm. It'll be such a Dolphins game that like you thought they were going to get destroyed by the Bears at home. Brock Osweiler starts, and they basically play the most fun game probably of the last 2 seasons, right? Outside of New England?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I don't even think we can kind of include New England in that category because New England is its own animal, and they don't really belong on the same planet. So yeah, we're going to say the Bears was the most exciting game, and it just seems weird with this team how the defense was like the heart and soul and looked so great. All of a sudden, they don't want to give Vincent Taylor enough snaps. All of a sudden, Jerome Baker looks clueless. All of a sudden, they don't get a single turnover. McMillan looked rough. I get that, but that's kind of what you get when you start 2 rookie linebackers. And yeah, if Ben Simmons can win a Rookie of the Year, McMillan's a rookie. You could fight me on that. You could argue with me like that. But it's just kind of the way it is. The Dolphins still can't get pressure. They only have 11 sacks on the season, like you wrote down here. And that's kind of what the issue is with this team. We talk about this a little bit with Rob. There's so much money invested in that line, in these players, and there's nothing happening. You know, I loved Woodward until, what's his name? Is that his name? Woodward?
Yeah.
Yeah, until he got hurt. I'm sorry, you know, it's hard to keep up with the undrafted guys. But he got hurt.
There's so many of them. There's so many of these players that just like randomly play and they make a play and then they get hurt. And you're like, whatever, I don't care anymore.
Exactly. So I think we kind of let out everything about the Detroit game. Wait, Dick Stockton's the worst. Can we agree on that?
Oh, 100%. I think any of these Dolphin announcers are horrendous.
Yep.
Like it's just I refuse to listen to the game on the radio. And you know, at least with this week you have Joe Buck, so like he knows who the players are.
Or
right?
Yeah,
like it's just basic stuff. Like Troy Aikman might give you some knowledge on like Adam Gase, just because like, you know, he has that cachet and like that relationship. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, I'm not excited for the game now, but probably Thursday I'll be pumped. Like it's football, man.
Last thing, but before we go into Texans Dolphins, Joe Buck. I'm sitting here wearing my Joe Kelly jersey, and Joe Buck will be announcing games 1 and 2 of the World Series, then Thursday Night Football, and then go back to announcing the World Series. That man, I used to never like Joe Buck until I listened to him on Pardon My Take, and then I'm like, wow, he's actually a kind of a cool dude.
Well, I like his fat head, the big cat post on Twitter.
Those are pretty great, I'm not going to lie. All right. And the MEGAPOD continues with Breaking Down Film on Twitter. It's our buddy, Rob Proffitt. And Rob, they lost to the Lions. Short week, full of injuries. We'll start here. What's your biggest issue with the Dolphins right now?
The biggest issue is the health of the team. The Dolphins are going into a short week, banged up, missing their best playmaker in Albert Wilson. And, you know, obviously we've seen the prior hits on the roster from an injury standpoint with the guys on the line and missing some of the defensive players. You know, we're going to – when you play a short week like this, especially Thursday night on the road, you need to be healthy. You need to be, you know, as rested as possible. If you can get a bye week before that game, it's the best. But the Dolphins got neither. And they're flying to Houston pretty beat up. So to me, that's the biggest problem going into Thursday night.
Two of the biggest issues that at least stand out to me are how the Dolphins have not scored in 17 straight opening drives, and that Gase is a quote-unquote respectable 0-2, losing 62-7 in Thursday night games. We think about that Ravens game, losing 40-0 a couple of years ago. I think that was a Thursday night game. What's your biggest concern about this game? Because there's so many issues. The offense is lackluster at times, yeah, but when you are sitting there and you're trying to, you know, talk yourself into the Dolphins are going to win Thursday, what's holding you back?
You know, the offense as a whole just feels completely just out of sorts. You know, we know about the injuries as I spoke of, but you know, outside of Albert Wilson, you've got nobody really stepping up, making these big, huge plays. And you didn't get it consistently from Albert Wilson, but you've seen it from a couple games. Kenyon Drake, the explosive, you know, take the ball to the house on any given play we sort of seen last year in 2017. I haven't seen that guy show up in 2018. So for me, that's been a big problem. And just the offensive consistency as a whole, from a play calling standpoint, I think there's been opportunities that Adam Gase, you know, could have put the offense in certain situations, and you know, he almost has this feel that he likes to, you know, obviously I think most people see he likes to throw short of the sticks and allow his playmakers to make plays, but they're just not doing it. So his inability to adjust has been a problem. I'll be honest with you, it's the offense as a whole. It's just out of sorts is a big problem and a real worry for me, and a reason why I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up with Deshaun Watson and that Houston Texans offense on Thursday night.
The offense looks constipated. Like it looks like it doesn't know what to do. It looks stuck.
Is that what you think constipated means?
It's stuck.
Okay.
It doesn't like when you watch it, like it's just frustrating because you don't know you don't know what they're good at. And they're 4-3 right now, and you don't know what they're good at. Like, yeah, you give it to Albert Wilson, but like outside of that, like he's not there anymore. So like, what do you rely on to move the ball? Is it, like we finally saw Danny Amendola. I mean, we finally saw actually Amendola score a touchdown. We saw Gesicki get some action. But outside of that, like, where do you go to get the offense if Albert Wilson is out?
I think Adam Gase needs to get back to calling plays that made Kenyon Drake successful in 2017. I still think he's a huge playmaker, and we're seeing a lot more of Frank Gore, which I think is, Frank has been very respectable. He runs very hard, but I just think fans forget Kenyon had this feel in 2017, like on almost any given play, he was going to touch the ball and take it 60 yards for a touchdown. I think Adam Gase needs to get back to making Kenyon Drake a focal point of this offense, whether it be running the ball, getting them the ball out of the backfield. We need to get back to utilizing the run game heavy. We really don't have a number one wide receiver. Even when Albert Wilson was healthy, he was not a true number one. They schemed him a lot to get the ball in his hands and jet sweeps and bubble screens and stuff like that. But we really don't have that weapon downfield from a passing game standpoint. So I think Adam Gase needs to get back to what he did last year from a successful standpoint of Kenyon Drake and feeding him the ball. I don't honestly, off the top of my head, I don't know the most touches Kenyon Drake's had in the game this year, but he's a guy that if he's not touching the ball 20 times a game, then you're really doing your offense an injustice. Tannehill is, and most Dolphin fans would hate to hear this, but I think he is a very high quality number 2 backup quarterback. He's a guy that if your starter, if he was playing in Kansas City and Pat Mahomes got hurt, they would love Ryan Tannehill to come in for 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 games. But the bottom line with Ryan Tannehill is he's not going to lead you 16 weeks. He is atypical of what you see from a backup quarterback. He has spurts of games where he looks incredible, but then he'll come back with 3 or 4 games, and you scratch your head and go,
"What are we doing here?
What the hell is this dude doing? Like, what are we doing here?" And again, I think if he's your backup quarterback, you're in a tremendous spot, but he's not going to lead your team 16 games. I mean, this is year 7, right? Are we year 7 or year 8? Whichever one it is.
Year 100.
I mean, at some point, you got to call a spade, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, yeah. I mean, I completely agree. It's just weird how like it happened so fast, and all it took was just an injury. In year 7.
And see, the thing is, though, is that Cincinnati game, like, that's a game like Andrew Luck does not lose. If you put Andrew Luck, and I'm really not trying to compare them to. I'm just talking. You've got a guy who's at the same age, right? Who
same athleticism.
Same athleticism. If Andrew Luck is the Dolphins quarterback, the Dolphins do not lose that by any means. It's not even close. It's still a 14-point win at least. He has no ability to will. I mean, I go back to a few years of that Steelers game in the snow, and that was one of his best games, probably if not his best game, where he sort of willed the team to a win. But I have no confidence he can do that on a week-to-week basis. I mean,
and that's what it comes down to.
You watch Andrew Luck, and yeah, that's it.
All right, man. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you
I
that.
appreciate it, guys.
As always.
Yeah,
man.
I appreciate it, man. Hey, listen, I don't know that the answer's in 2019, but at some point, they got to look.
I think you actually stick with them next year. You run with them next year, and whatever happens, happens. If the wheels fall off, the wheels fall off. And you don't, you kind of develop around the defense, the defensive line and the offensive line, and just let shit happen. And then you know what? You come out, you go in 2020 with a quarterback, fresh quarterback, Tua, Herbert, whoever it is. Like that's your class, and you go and you do, and that's where you go.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think that's probably the best thing. You take.
It sucks, but it's the proper way.
Yep, I agree.
But we've talked quite a bit about the offense and their shortcomings. But let's hit the defense, because this looks like such an important part to this team. The side of the ball the Dolphins can kind of lean on. So I'm just going to throw three kind of things that are bothering me at you, and you can just kind of take it wherever you want. What happened to Charles Harris? Because you don't there was no talk about his injury. Now he's gone for 2 weeks. Cam Wake looks washed. I've been saying it for years. Whatever, attack me. I don't care. And Jerome Baker too has kind of disappeared. What's going on?
Yeah, the Charles Harris saga is confusing. I was talking to a couple guys on Twitter yesterday about Charles Harris, and this is a guy that I'm a big college football fan. I follow the SEC very closely. I watched Missouri. I watched Charles Harris dozens of times. I'm not talking highlights. I'm talking in-game, full games. And Charles Harris at Missouri, he was a scary edge rusher who, you felt was at any moment capable of taking the quarterback's head off. And this is a guy – I've seen really none of that at the NFL level, and I know he's a hard worker, and they've proclaimed him to be a gym rat. But whatever's translating on the film or to the field is simply it's not happening, and I really can't explain it. It's been a huge disappointment. Typically, when guys are young, you want to see flashes from them, and you might not expect them to be out of the gate. This huge impactful player, but again, you want to see some flashes. But you're really not seeing any of that from Charles Harris. It's really the kind of the typical ride of a first round bust is what you're seeing from Charles Harris. So I don't know what's going on with him, and it's very disappointing. As far as Cam Wake, this is another situation where he's disappeared. I think Father Time has finally caught up with Cam Wake, as much as Dolphin fans really don't want to hear it. At some point, you're not going to beat Father Time. He's undefeated, and Cam Wake, as much as we want him to be this, huge superhero in Miami, and I have nothing but respect for what he's done. There's only one Tom Brady, and there's very few guys that play past 35 at a very high level. So I think Cam Wake is really he's really relegated to sort of a situational player when he's available and healthy. As far as Jerome Baker, Jerome has a lot of talent, but you can see him on the field and in the film that his head's kind of swimming. The game is moving fast for him, and you can watch other guys like Kiko Alonso and Raekwon McMillan basically pointing out his assignments in the game. And the good news for Jerome Baker, I kind of mentioned this just a few moments ago about Charles Harris and wanting to see flashes. You see those flashes out of Jerome Baker. You see him come up with a big play on a screen pass, or you see him getting after the quarterback. You see his speed and his quickness and his agility from the linebacker position. All those things you kind of see. You're just not really seeing the consistency. And I would tell Dolphin fans, just have some patience, because he's making plays and he's going to struggle this year, and he may struggle halfway through next year too. But at some point, the light's going to come on. You can kind of see it, and but there's going to be some ups and downs with Jerome Baker this year. The biggest problem, in my opinion, right now, though, is just the defensive line as a whole. I don't know why Vincent Taylor didn't get more snaps in the last game. Robert Quinn is getting after the quarterback, but he's really not finishing. He's not getting any sacks. The pressure is not there on the defensive line, and Raekwon seems to be getting better, but the linebackers are still struggling a little bit from Raekwon and Jerome. I think Kiko's playing pretty good, but that sort of front seven is sort of the big issue with the Dolphins defense right now.
I think what we saw from the defense last week is what you would get if the defense did the defense causing turnovers kind of like protected all of what happened yesterday. I mean, on Sunday, because without those, those turnovers kind of save it. Like when they were playing against Chicago, they still gave up a lot of points and they gave up a lot of yards, but those interceptions and those fumbles were kind of preserving the game because the Dolphins were still in the game. But the defensive line is horrendous right now. Like you just listed Cam Wake, Charles Harris. Like to me, that's like the worst unit on defense right now.
No, you're absolutely right. The bottom line with defense is, and you'll hear most sort of defensive coaches and most experts say, the whole foundation of a defense is the defensive line, and a secondary's best friend is a pass rush, and we're really not getting any of that. We're getting no pressure. We have no sort of push from the defensive line. I mean, honestly, I think Vincent Taylor's probably the best defensive lineman. Why he's not getting more snaps, I don't know. It's a little confusing to me, but even then, and even still, it's not great. So the Dolphins, it feels like the Dolphins have kind of been going round and round, and it's a broken record for many, many years that they need offensive linemen and defensive linemen. But it feels like we're back here to the Fins desperately needing playmaking defensive linemen.
Yeah, and it just is so annoying, especially when you look at how much money and how much draft stock, I guess if you want to say that, it was put into this defensive line, and it just isn't showing up. Whatever. I know Tack McKinley had a couple sacks last night. He has 5.5 on the year. Taco Charlton has been great for Cowboys defense. It looks to be like a top 10 in the league, and it just kind of sucks that Charles Harris was taken before. And we've kind of seen with him where even when he does get to the quarterback, he kind of just, if he drops the ball, I guess is an okay metaphor for that one, because he'll see the quarterback and just whiff. And someone, on Twitter, they were trying to say like he caused the sack because I think Robert Quinn ended up finishing it. And but then his other whiff was on the Joe Mixon touchdown against the Bagels. And it's not that. It's not he's, being aggressive or anything like that. You need to make the sacks. You need to get to the quarterback. You're not there to, almost get there. Because we've seen that with Olivier Vernon for years, and we're seeing it with Charles Harris, and we've actually seen with the Dolphins where you could argue, yeah, they've gotten some pressures, but that's not why the secondary has been good. And the Lions was a great scenario where you get to Stafford a couple times, and he'll start throwing interceptions. That was the first game this season, I believe the Dolphins didn't have a turnover, and it showed because the offense didn't have many opportunities. I don't think it was anywhere near Osweiler's fault, and the offense wasn't great, but, you got to give them more chances and not give up a score on every down. So when we look at both sides of the ball, Rob, I'm going to ask you the toughest question to end it here. And Travis Wingfield at Wingfield NFL brought up on Twitter, but it's a little obvious. You're a big DeAndre Hopkins fan who's going against Xavier Howard. There's a little trash talk in there where Howard said Hopkins likes to push off, and then Hopkins responded with, who's Xavier Howard? We have that matchup, and, everyone knows how Laramie Tunsil helped to shut down Khalil Mack a couple weeks ago. So now we have Tunsil versus Clowney. These are the two biggest matchups of the game. Which one are you more excited to watch, and which one will play a bigger key in deciding the end result of the game?
Probably the bigger, that's hard. That's like you said, that's a great question. I think ultimately, the Xavier Howard on Nuke Hopkins battle is gonna weigh probably very, very heavily, just because Deshaun Watson depends so much on Nuke, and Nuke. I think Jake. Nuke's a kid that I've known since he was 15 years old, and I kind of proclaimed how good I thought he was prior to him being drafted. And the Dolphins picked, I think, 12th that year, and I wanted us to pick him then, but we didn't. And he's a tremendous talent. He's a tremendous route runner. He doesn't drop anything. He can catch things one-handed, both hands. He's tremendous, and the good news for Dolphin fans is, I think he's the style wide receiver that Xavier Howard sort of matches up with best. I think Xavier has a natural, more of a possibility to sort of struggle with the smaller, quicker type, wide receivers like Antonio Brown, Tyreek Hill, and I know a lot of guys do struggle with them, but I'm just saying from a specific body type and style. The more bigger, taller, lankier wide receivers, I think, is Xavier's sort of wheelhouse. So, but the bottom line is, I think Nuke's going to win his battles, and I think Xavier's going to win some battles. Ultimately, it's going to come down to who wins more, and I really don't know who that can be, but I think Xavier's going to get his. As far as Laramie Tunsil and Jadeveon Clowney, I think you also know I'm a big South Carolina Gamecock fan, so I'm very, very familiar with Jadeveon. He's a freak athlete, but Tunsil right now is sort of developing into that next level of left tackle that we all hope that we see, and he's really a tactician and a technician of fundamentals, and his feet are incredible and his hands are incredible, and Jadeveon wins a lot with his sort of athletic prowess, but I think I'm willing to put money on Tunsil to win that matchup between those two.
How do you think Osweiler is going to do coming back to Houston?
Well, I've mentioned this a lot. Osweiler. The bottom line with Brock is physically limited. Yeah, and he's 6'7". He's big and tall, but he has a very weak arm. He cannot throw a deep ball, and he can't throw a deep out. There's just from a passing standpoint, in NFL throws, there's just limitations to Brock Osweiler's game. But what he can do very well, or at least he's done in the past two games, is he's able to see the field very well. He's able to read the defense, and he's able to find open guys. We haven't necessarily seen that from Tannehill. I think what we've seen from Tannehill, if Dolphin fans really want to admit it, is Tannehill's very athletic, and he can create some time with his athletic ability and then find open guys. When he's not able to create time, he's struggled. Brock, on the opposite hand, has been able to find open guys pretty early and often in the route concepts. And he's even moved around a little bit. We've seen in the pocket to make some throws. There was an incredible throw he made, Danny Amendola, in the last game for a touchdown. But again, Brock's able to read the defense. He's able to find open guys. That's something that Tannehill has, whether Dolphin fans want to admit it or not. Ryan Tannehill struggles reading defenses. He struggles finding open guys past his first read. And we've seen a little bit of a different quarterback in Brock Osweiler in the past two games, although he is physically limited. So I think at some point teams are going to start, especially these smart defensive coordinators with talent, they're going to start forcing Brock Osweiler to make these NFL big time throws, and I think that's where you're going to sort of see the Brock Osweiler of old, and we've seen in the past, kind of come out. But until then, we hope he can continue his success.
And Rob, finally at Breaking Down Film on Twitter, you're notorious for your projection 2 years before that Laramie Tunsil will be a Dolphin. So give us your prediction for Thursday night, knowing that Gase has never won a primetime game and the Dolphins are struggling with other these injuries. If you were to walk into a casino in Vegas, what would you be betting money on to happen Thursday night?
Yeah, I think Miami's going to go down to Houston, and it's going to be a raucous crowd. Deshaun Watson is going to be a big problem for Dolphins defense, especially a defensive line that is struggling. Deshaun can move around. I think he's going to, as I mentioned, I think Nuke's going to win some battles, but ultimately some other guys are going to play in a bigger effect. This is typically a game, if Dolphin fans would agree, where a player like Lamar Miller, sort of a Dolphin cast-off, usually has a huge game against Miami. You did nothing for Miami hardly, and then goes to another team, and then we match up on him, and he'll probably run for 150 yards or something crazy. So, as much as I love the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins are going to kind of run into a buzzsaw Thursday night, and I'm probably looking at, 31-17 type game, Houston winning.
Very cool. Hopefully, Rob, I don't get to say this often, but I hope you are wrong.
I hope I am wrong too. I would do backflips if I was wrong, and trust me, if you seen me, you'd know it'd be difficult for me to do backflips. So
exactly, I was gonna say you'd have to put that on Twitter for the world to see. But Rob, thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and we always appreciate your input.
Hey, thanks, guys, man. I really appreciate it. Look forward to next time, and it's always an honor and a pleasure.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Thanks, Rob. But you know what? I got to ask you this.
Uh-oh.
You know, I got to ask you this because we kind of got into it a little bit in a very passive-aggressive way on Twitter. Devontae Parker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, very passive-aggressive. And now it's going to get aggressive. Not more passive. Not anymore. It's not going to be passive anymore. What do you do?
I've been able to jump on both sides of this argument because we always were under the impression he just doesn't want to be into Miami. He just is sick of it here. It's just like a bad marriage where you kind of just go home, you don't talk to each other, you just go to bed and just do that every day. But his agent came out and kind of called out Gase, said how Parker deserves playing time, yada, yada, yada. And Parker came out, someone who's always kind of voiced his opinion on Twitter, Instagram, and even to the media, like how he feels, what he thinks. He kind of came out and said he likes to be in Miami and he's ready to help the team. What? That is like the craziest turn that story could have taken because we've all thought his time was done, but hearing something like that, I don't know if it's just the homer in me or the Dolphin fan. I'm after saying that, you got to give him a shot.
I think you do, and there's literally three sides to it. There's Gase's side, which I don't get at all, and he kind of added to it today by not giving a ringing endorsement, by like basically saying, yeah, we have no choice but to play him. You know, obviously Parker's agent kind of just went, DEFCON 3 on Adam Gase by just kind of calling him out for like his coaching and the way he handles players. And then you got Parker, who I've always thought like wants to play. I know you said that, you've kind of said that he's kind of like a me guy, and our guest Travis has kind of said that he's a me guy, specifically after the Jets game. But he kind of came out today and said like, no, I want to be here, which I think is cool, man. I think, you just got like let the guy play and play the season out. And if he plays good, he plays good. He helps your team out. You know what? And if he doesn't, he probably wasn't going to be here anyways.
Right. No deep routes, though. Make him work to go 50 yards. Make him already have the ball in his hands. Sorry if I cut you off, but the one thing... Sorry. I'm sorry. I kind of want to ask you what side you sit on, because we could compare this to the Jay Ajayi. They cut him, or they traded him. Drake wasn't a known commodity yet. The year before that, they got rid of 3 offensive linemen. The 3 offensive linemen behind him were nobodies. So when Gase says we're going to play him because we have nobody else, that hasn't stopped him before. He's still cut people. He'd throw in Isaiah Ford if he was ready to cut him. So do you think there's kind of any like underlying theme here that we just haven't really picked up on? Because he doesn't care how big his depth chart is. If he doesn't like a guy, he gets rid of him. Yeah,
based off the way Adam Gase has handled his the athletes on his team, is he'll be gone. I thought he'd be gone this week, but since the injuries started piling up, I think you gotta keep him, man. You can't run out there with Isaiah Ford.
Why not?
I think you play your best players, and I think Devontae Parker, say what you want about him, he has the talent.
But he wasn't playing him before. And like I said, Kenyon Drake was averaging maybe 3 touches a game before they traded Ajayi. There was offensive linemen who weren't starters now starting after you cut too. What's different about Parker? And I don't know if we can answer
the first round pick.
I guess. I mean,
it's frustrating, but
But that's never been a label before that they've dealt with. I don't know. It's who leaves first? Devontae Parker or Devontae Parker's agent?
Devontae Parker, and that could be like any time this week.
You don't think his agent, after he came out and said the exact opposite of his agent, you don't think
judging by Devontae Parker talks and handles himself, I don't think he said anything to his agent. And if he did, I don't think it was like, yo, shut up. I want to be here. Like it doesn't, but it was just weird, the whole thing. And it happened at the worst time, and I'm happy that Devontae Parker came out and said that he wants to be here because it came off as like the Dolphins lost, a bunch of players were hurt, and now as an agent, you're going after the team.
Right.
It just very seemed like amateur hour.
Right.
And you had a message you wanted to get across, and it was pretty obvious. Like, he sent it to everybody in the media. And that's where it went.
It's not really a good card to play because it's not like Parker has
It was an awful play. It was an awful play.
He doesn't have stock. It's not like this is going to help him get a better second contract. It might help him get a worse one because now I'm going to drop this card, locker room disturbance. Uh-oh. You don't want a player like that on your team. I don't know, man. I could see maybe Parker just came out and said, I want to stay in Miami just to kind of cover face. I guess that could kind of be it. One more question. You were the champion of this on Twitter. And I think something a reoccurring segment we should do is something called Which Take is Worse?
I'm ready.
Okay. There was one take that came out that said Tannehill cannot be smiling after the loss. How dare he be smiling? So there's that.
I didn't say that take.
No, you didn't say either of these.
Okay, good.
But the point here is they're both horrible, god awful takes. And the other one is Dwayne Wade can't go to a Dolphins game in Bears gear.
I feel like I think the original take should be Dwayne Wade can't go to a Bears game in denim. That's my
a
argument.
Good take. That's a take we can agree on. So that doesn't even belong in this segment. But
I feel like the Tannehill one can't smile because it's just weird. Like when I saw that, and yes, we all know who we're talking about. It was kind of all over the place.
Yep.
I will not say his name, but
you don't.
Yeah, man, it was just weird. It was just like, what are you doing? And then like it's a dude just taking a picture with his wife on a Sunday. And yes, I saw that it was on Instagram, and I was kind of like, all right, cool, whatever. He looks happy. Like I was actually just looking at his right shoulder the entire time. Like how is it positioned in the car?
Yeah.
Is he driving with it? Is it by his hip, kind of like right where the seatbelt is? But yeah, man, like the dude's happy. Yeah, he's probably, he probably kind of realizes what he is as a player right now.
Your wife or girlfriend says, "Hey, let's take a selfie." It doesn't matter what has happened in your life. You are going to smile and make your wife or girlfriend happy because nobody wants to be Gordon Hayward saying daddy's always happy as he finds out he's having another girl. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, I got another one. But yeah, man, like, yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was a terrible take because it's like, all right, yeah, we kind of get there's things bigger than football. Mm-hmm. We all agree. But yeah, I thought it was I'm just kind of ready to get rid of the whole Tannehill era. I'm okay. Like I'm okay. Like let's just move on. I'm tired of all these weird discussions and weird observations that people make, and I've made them myself by like saying he's like he comes off as very comfortable and confident in his life, which he probably is. Like he's got 2 kids now. He's probably well off for the rest of his life, and he probably came to grips on what he is as a player, and shit happens. That's why I'm just kind of over it.
Yeah. That might be part of the reason I enjoy watching Brock Osweiler, and I've kind of found myself defending him a little bit because he's not really done anything to make me say like football was fun when he was when he's at quarterback. It doesn't necessarily have to be the touchdowns, but like I mentioned, just at the line of scrimmage, hearing him just call out plays, directing people, talking about backyard football when you only have 3 or 2 healthy wide receivers, or just his quotes on the sideline. But I do want to talk about the Wade can't be a Bears fan because that's disrespectful as hell. First of all, it's sports. We are talking sports. We go to these games to have fun, and going to games in general has just from the things I see, the things I hear at games, What sports fan would go to games anymore? Wade has done more for the city of Miami in the last 15 years than the Dolphins will for the next 30 years. And the fact that he can't, support Chicago, he's over here tweeting to Tannehill on the side. It's not like he hates the Dolphins and people are hurt by this. There's a Seinfeld skit and that he's like, sports are the dumbest thing because, you love your players. But then the player moves on, and all of a sudden you hate him. Just because of the color of the shirt he's wearing. And it can't be more true just to be angry about something like that. You have much bigger issues in your life. If you are upset that Dwayne Wade is going to a game with Udonis Haslem, who's all out in Dolphins gear, and they're joking, they're smiling, they're having fun. Sports are supposed to unite people. It doesn't matter what team you like, what team you don't like. Everyone needs to go there to have a good time, so they don't think about the fact they're spending $18 on a beer.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's a Sunday night. It's a Sunday afternoon. Let's just people go enjoy the game. Who cares?
Exactly. Okay. We got a game Thursday night.
We got a game Thursday night. I'm going to do this, Jake. I'm going to put my pants on and do this. They were off.
Nice.
Yo, are we going to, how do we feel entering it? I think we got glimpses of excitement in Sunday's game, and you kind of hope it rolls over, specifically with Kenyon Drake, Mike Gesicki. You think the defense might have a bounce back. I think they match up pretty well. They kind of know. I mean, do you think that, there are players on the defense that kind of know how Lamar Miller is as a player, or is that kind of knowledge gone?
Forsaken. You know what isn't common knowledge? That Lamar Miller has won a 100-yard rushing game this season. He has as many games with 100 yards rushing as he does games he averages 1 yard a carry. And that was on 10 attempts. 10 attempts, 10 carries. And this is the Lamar Miller we know. In the first 2 games of the season, he averaged 5 yards a carry, 1 on 20 attempts, didn't get over his 100 yards, and 1 on 14 attempts. But other than that, he's been around 3 yards a carry until against the Jaguars. Actually a good defense, unless they're kind of falling apart, but he doesn't scare me. It doesn't matter what the Dolphins know, what they don't know. I don't think Lamar Miller is, the big play potential's there, yes. But as I think we mentioned...
always there.
It's always there, sure. But as we mentioned in last week's pod, backups can always show off and make the big play, but they're never going to be able to do it consistently. Lamar Miller has 1 touchdown on the season, Topher. Is that someone you really want to be afraid of?
No, I don't think you give him the space to make a play.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, overall, I'm not worried. I think I'm more worried about just Deshaun Watson and his, playmaking ability outside of the pocket, and DeAndre Hopkins. To me, that's it. Because it's a Thursday night game, it's a short week. You kind of said it. Road games. I mean, home teams on Thursday night are 5-2, but road teams in the last 2 games have won.
Mm-hmm.
So they can win, and this is the type of game they would win because it doesn't make sense. And you're just like, yeah, that's the Dolphins. Back against the wall, we've kind of prided ourselves, or they've prided themselves on adversity.
Yep.
Whether it's a hurricane, it's week 1 lightning delay, they still pull through. Chicago, they win. They come they come back from behind, they win. Oakland, they come from behind, they win. It wouldn't shock me if they win it just because the chips are stacked against them. It's a short week. We've kind of. I would say, do you feel the fan base is fed up with them? It's so fast that it's week to week with the fan base.
I've tried to defend the Dolphin fan base of, hey, it's not that bad, but there are some bad people. Nah, it's that bad. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you for listening. The ones who do listen, I will personally apologize to all of you. If you want a written apology, let me know. But there are so many people in this fan base who, whether it's one way or another, can't just look at this team as a whole and understand we're 4-3, there are issues, but every team has their issues. There's maybe 4 teams in the league that don't have issues. To think this season's over is nonsense. The Eagles won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. I'm not saying the Dolphins are going to do that, but this season is far from over. The Texans, yes, have won 4 in a row. Deshaun Watson can't fly. That line sucks. If there's any time for the Dolphins to step up, it's after a game like this. That's after articles are coming out how this is the most together, I guess, Dolphins team, how everyone gets along, how everyone's having fun. I think the Dolphins match up well. Maybe the cornerback 2 against Will Fuller, but they don't have a great tight end. Our secondary
Will Fuller can get hurt any second.
Exactly. So
that the other guy, Kiki Kuti, might not play either, or Kuti, whatever you want to call him. He's probably not playing.
Are you hitting on me? Were you just hitting on me?
Yeah, I was. But yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Deshaun Jackson had to take a bus to Jacksonville because of his lung.
Which way would you, if you had to go to a game across the country and you couldn't fly, which way would you go?
I'd take a boat.
Nice.
I'd take a boat in the Gulf. I would go in the Gulf. But yeah, it's just that was the craziest story that he can't fly because of the altitude and his lungs, but yet you're gonna put him on a 12-hour bus ride to play football. The logic didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Because it's his violent sport and it's his lung. Huh?
Exactly. Yeah. So I see this as a pretty good matchup for the Dolphins.
We've always thought it. It's just Texans are 4-3 right now, and they beat Jacksonville.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, we've beaten the Titans.
Yeah.
I think they lost to the Titans. I think they lost to the Giants. Maybe. Yeah. Wait.
Don't quote you on that.
Well, don't quote me because they didn't. They did lose to the Titans though, and there's a lot of that. I don't know. That team doesn't. Obviously, now they're gonna get smoked because I said this. We mentioned this with Rob. The Dolphins are 0-3 in primetime games, and 0-2 might even be worse than 0-3. But the one that stands out is 0-2 in Thursday night games and have been outscored 62-7. Yeesh. But let's talk about this offense. We saw Gesicki start to make plays. He should be good.
By making plays, you mean just catching the ball?
That's all I want, dude. Wilson,
that's it.
Wilson out. Kenny Stills out. The Devontae Parker comeback story. I guess is starting supposedly. How do you feel about the offense? Because I think the Texans are gonna. You need to score to win in football. Do you think the Dolphins can, maybe score 30 points on the road against this team?
Hell no.
Oh.
Hell no.
Why not?
It's on the road, man. This is hard. It'll have to be a complete shootout, and I don't know if the Dolphins are meant for that on the road.
That's fair.
I just don't know if they're built for it. Mm-hmm. I think what we've seen on the road with Adam Gase is conservative play calling, defense keeps them in the game, and give them a chance to win at the end. That's Adam Gase on the road. Is just do what he can as a team to keep the game close, and we'll win, but we'll eke it out. And just hope the quarterback doesn't turn it over, so we have a chance to win. And it kind of went south against Cincinnati. We saw what it was like against the Jets. It was a pretty conservative game, and they still won.
Right.
But New England, that was New England. That game was over. That game was over before it started. We all knew.
Like I said, New England games don't count for the sake of this argument.
And that's really it. It's they're very conservative on the road. That I just don't see them getting into a good rhythm on offense where you're like, where has this been all season?
Right.
It doesn't show it's an Adam Gase special.
You're right, dude. There are just some things about Gase's coaching style. I mean, no first drive touchdowns in 17 games. Just being god awful on the road. I don't know if it's him or what. It just is just brutal. 5 Reasons Sports, who we both work with, me with Dolphins Haven, and you do a little editing for him, I believe. Just sent out this tweet. Dolphins put on IR at some point in the season 10 players in 2016, 19 players in 2017, and already at 9 in 2018. I don't know how you can kind of compare those to teams around the league, but that kind of sucks.
I have a theory on it.
Uh-oh.
Their guys they get are very undersized and small and unique, in terms of a skill set. It's a fast skill set, whether it's Cam Wake, who's always, like he's undersized. Albert Wilson, small dude. Devontae Parker, like he's just 6'2". He's not like a physical freak, and Jay Ajayi, they get him. Like, I'm talking about guys who've just been getting hurt for the Dolphins and who have a, history of injuries. That like the guys they get are just kind of small and they're a unique skill set. They're not big physical. They're not a big physical team. They haven't been in years. And I think that's it. On top of playing in Miami.
Yeah, I think Miami plays a role. And to be fair, a lot of the times the big physical, good play. It's important to remember, especially in the free agent time and when you're pounding the table for any free agent, if a player is good enough, they're not going to hit free agency.
Yep.
And I think that's just something a lot of people forget. And I fall for it too with the different players who have come through Miami. If a player does enough to help a team on the field, off the field, however it may be, they will not hit free agency. So Topher, this has been our Megapod. I think my voice is starting to go. I think that rant about Dwayne Wade going to the game in Bears gear really just kind of took it out of me. So before I get your final projection for the game, give me an idea of what you're looking for, how you're feeling. What's your status, I guess?
My status is I am probable in terms of watching it. I'm expecting questionable call plays that will always in the end leave me doubtful of a win.
Wow.
That is what I'm expecting.
No, stop. That was great. I gotta give you a round of applause. That was very well done for the top of your head. I am proud of you. We did not write that down. That was very creative. I enjoyed it.
But yeah, I just want to see some consistency. I don't want it where it's over in the first quarter. Where they just get completely where they get walked off the field. It's a road game. It's Houston. There's been kind of some crap talking between Howard and Hopkins. Osweiler, like Clowney was clowning him. And so I just hope that it's just a competitive game and the Dolphins are in. I just want them in the game. We all know what the fate is. I just want them to be in the game and to bring me excitement and not anger going into a Friday. It's Friday. Let's wake up happy.
Exactly. To kind of argue that back, I don't know if we do know the end result because we kind of talked before the show how this is like even I guess during the show how this is the game the Dolphins this is an in the hunt game with the Dolphins win because if you win this one, it locks up losing to Buffalo later in the season. So I'm not necessarily sure this game. The Dolphins might. This is gonna sound crazy, and people might just turn off the podcast here. If the Dolphins lose this game, I think they might be on their track to have the best season under Adam Gase. So for me,
what?
Yeah, because this is a game you lose if you're better than we expect, and this is a game like in Pittsburgh in 2016 or against Seattle in 2012. These are the games you win if you're in the hunt. You win to go 8-8 because you're gonna lose to bad teams down the road. We've seen that the only team the Dolphins have lost to that's been bad is Bengals. The Bengals are frauds, and that hurt me. That loss. But yeah, I don't think this is a game that's so out of the world for the Dolphins to win. I know I'm using some crazy logic here, but I expect a big game from a couple players. I think Amendola is starting to find his rhythm. I think the Drake comeback.
He looks like he's found his place in the offense. He looks like they have found how to use how to use Danny Amendola. Like I think they figured it out now.
Right. So I think
or maybe they found out when they specifically how to use him, even though they had the idea in mind, and now it's now being executed. And that could have changed just because of quarterback. Could have changed just because of Brock Osweiler. Like simple as that.
With football, there's so many minor adjustments you can make that can totally change the team. And just the quotes I hear from this team, it definitely doesn't sound like a group who's ready to give up. Minkah Fitzpatrick, the Dolphins don't need to win out. They have a winning record. Let's keep that in mind. And Fitzpatrick's already saying we can get this figured out and we can win out. That is Alabama football. That is the type of things I've missed from this team. I like not like the Adam Gase or the Ryan Tannehill, the issues start with me, things like that. It's Brock Osweiler being like, yeah, this sucks. revenge game against the Texans coming up. He's talking about, lifting up Drake's spirit after the fumble. It's these attitude things where maybe the Dolphins go 7-9, go 8-8, or even worse, but they're playing an exciting brand of football to a certain extent where it's not necessarily a bunch of SportsCenter top 10 plays, but I'm willing to give it a shot. I'm willing to let the Brock train ride. It is almost Halloween, as you mentioned. He might turn into a pumpkin by then. You know what? I'm going to say it. 24-20 Dolphins.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. The best part is no one can. If I'm wrong, nothing happens. So why not be hopeful?
24-14 Houston.
This has been our Megapod. Topher, where can you find this Megapod?
What kind of sound was that?
It was you being a cranky little... That was like a you on Sunday when the Dolphins go down 7 in the first quarter. Oh, it's over. It's your Meep from Sesame Street. No, excuse... Oh my God, I can't.
No, it's Oscar the Grouch, actually.
You've left your trash can. They've let you roam.
You know what? Fine. Great. I was gonna say, Drake Gore, get going.
Drake Gore.
Jakeem Grant channels his little Tyreek Hill, or well, who's bigger? I don't know. They're both the same size. They both can't fit in a trash can because they're that tall. But Mike Gesicki finally makes an appearance. He's kind of been making it. Now he's finally gonna be in the building. He's gonna be in the building.
We're cooking.
He's been knocking on the door. Taking his jacket off, but not knowing what to do at the party. Okay?
He was wiping his feet. Last game, he wiped his feet.
Charles Harris is going to touch the quarterback and finally tackle him.
I think he's already
But the thing is, he'll get rid of... Who cares? I don't care. I'm talking nonsense. Leave me alone. Minka, Rashad, Xavier are all going to triple team... what's his name? DeAndre Hopkins.
Doesn't matter.
That's what's going to happen.
He won't have any
stats,
stats, so it doesn't matter what
Dolphins win 52-14 on a Thursday. Going into the Jets next week. Ryan Tannehill comes back, and then we want Brock Osweiler. Have a great night. Fins up.
iTunes, Spotify, Podbean. If you want to yell at Topher after that, because somehow he said something crazier than I. Cochran 108, me, J Mendel 94. I need your thoughts and prayers because I just unlocked a Topher. I don't know. I'm ready to control. This has been our Megapod. As always, thank you guys for listening. And Topher, I'm going to say it again. Just to make sure you're still alive. Fins up.
Fins up.